For those of you that don't know me, I'm Libby Shen, and I am the new co-president of the PTO. I've been at West Valley, my family has been at West Valley for 1 year. My son started in kindergarten last year, and my daughter started kindergarten this year. And my co-president, Debbie Hall, is not here tonight. She had a work function that she had to go to. And we also have two other members that are not here tonight, Marissa Levy and Anjan Yu. Before we get started, I wanted to mention that Safat Syed, who's over here, has generously offered to stream the meeting live for us. It will also be recorded. So we know, and you should all know, that anything that you say in this room, anything that happens in this room, will be recorded for eternity. So,
are they going to be blur my face? You know.
I didn't sign the release.
Yeah. So thank you, Safat.
Yeah, we're live right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And there's what, a 20 seconds?
Sorry, I thought I was going to say that before we were live, but now we're live. So, all right. So first, I'm going to start with the president's report. So there are two things. One is the school pictures. So Jonah Troth volunteered to help us find a new photographer this year. It was the PTO was asked to be responsible for this, and Jonah volunteered to help us.
Jonah's
so,
here, right?
Yeah, I saw him walking. Oh, there he is. I'm
Right.
sorry. There's
Okay.
Jonah. So he actually did a lot of research. He looked into a number of different companies and took in everything into consideration. So we ended up with AP Visions Photography. And the pictures will be taken on Thursday, October 15th. And it'll be both individual pictures and classroom pictures together. And then the other announcement is that the superintendent has decided that she wants to attend a PTA meeting at every school in the district. And so she's going to be visiting the PTO meeting at West Valley next month in October. And that's October 21st at 7 p.m. for people that are interested in being here for that. And that's all that I have to say. So next is the principal's report. Robin.
Good evening, everybody. Before I introduce Leslie, I wanted to update you on a couple of things that we're doing here at school. This month, each classroom is assessing each child to see where they're at academically and to see where we need to take them next. So they're busy doing that besides all their other responsibilities. That also helps us with our school goals and where we put our resources to support kids in the classroom. Also, just a reminder that our Learning Day is Friday, but we will be doing a district-wide Learning Day in the area of math. As you know, it is a new adoption for us this year. So this Learning Day will focus on the digital piece of that math adoption. So we'll be busy learning on Friday while you guys are out frolicking with your kids.
Yeah,
I heard
right.
quite a few dads were going to take it on. Jonah, are you taking it on Friday?
Sure.
I won't put you on the spot as to what you're doing.
It's a secret.
Also, CAS data has been officially released. The state has said that they will give, or they're sending out parent reports that you should get your individual child's report sometime in September. Okay? Don't hold me to that. Okay? As we know, it may be a little later than that, but they say by the end of September you should be getting it. We are taking the data, and the end of this month into the end of October, we'll be looking at the data that they have sent us. It's first year data, so we can't do any comparison, but it will give us an idea of maybe a focus area that we're going to use for our school goal and some of our resources for staff development. So that's what we're working on right now. And Leslie is here tonight. Leslie Maines is, and I have to read it, Leslie, the title.
I know it's long.
The Chief Family and Community Engagement Officer of the district. So that's just a fancy way of saying that she comes out and she supports the community and engaging them with the schools. She is part of our focus group that we have formed with our small group, that's going out to research different possible areas. If we want to do that, we may end up that we don't want to do any of those areas, and that's okay too. But she is here tonight to explain a little bit of the process. We've met with the community group about 2 or 3 times, and now we're actually moving forward with the research. So we want to make sure that the community as a parent body know what that's going to look like so that you're informed. So at this time, I'd like to introduce Leslie. Welcome.
Thank you. So, hello. I don't have to introduce who I am or what I do. The easy way to remember it is FACE, Family and Community Engagement. And so one of the things I wanted to share is I've been in the district for over 20 years. I've been a teacher in the district, a principal at 2 school sites, and in the district office in 2 different positions. And my current position does exactly what Robin said. It works with, 1, our character development programs. 2, I work with parents that have things that they want to share as in regards to successes or challenges in the district or at school sites. And so I do a lot of parent resolution. But my most favorite part of my job is actually working with community groups. I am currently, or we've sort of ended our 1.5-year long journey at Stockholm actually with a stakeholder group looking at the large campus that it is of 1,200 kids and what is the community's vision or recommendation to the board in regards to, are we 1 school, are we 2 schools? And so that was a 1.5-year long process, and it's fun for me to engage with the stakeholder groups and listen to different perspectives. So I'm excited. I have, just so this group knows, and I know there's a couple committee, some focus group members in the room. So if you're on the focus group, couple of you. I have not met you because I missed your last meeting. I had a sudden family emergency that I could not avoid, unfortunately. And so they may be able to fill you in a little bit more than I can, but I've certainly met with Robin to talk about what was accomplished. I've looked at your meeting notes, and my role in this is to facilitate the work groups, is to help the work groups get themselves organized and moving forward in the research that they're going to be doing, helping the groups share that information out with the larger group or at parent meetings, and then certainly serve as a resource as you're exploring the different options that the group would come up with. So just a brief overview. The focus group is composed of community members. There's actually 22 community members on the group, meaning West Valley parents on the group. Variety of grade levels represented, and a variety of longevity at your school site, which makes it a very, very rich group, which is great. There are 6 teachers on the group. They've actually divided themselves into 5 areas, and so each group has a teacher on it. One group has 2, just so that they can tag team based on family commitments if necessary. And then there is 1 community member at large. And again, my role is really to facilitate those individual groups as needed. Timeline for this school year, because we really don't know what will be finally accomplished by the end of the school year, but this was the proposed timeline that they came up with. They had a meeting in August where they set the stage. They talked about focus areas, they talked about priorities, they talked about criteria that they wanted to look at, regardless of what models they were exploring. So the group came to some agreements as to what are the, if we're gonna go STEM, or if we're gonna do an arts focus, or if we're going to do, I'll list them in a minute, but whatever focus we're gonna do, what's important to us in regards to student learning. And so I'll share that list with this group. In November, at a focus group meeting, they'll begin sharing out in their clusters what their preliminary findings were. What were the barriers that they found? What were the things that may have concerned them? What were the things that may have excited them? What were the resources that they found along the way? So it's really, this first part is that exploration stage. During the months of January through March, they're going to do a couple different things. One, they'll start as groups going out and doing site visits. So once they've explored, we will find some model programs for the groups to go and look, because I think there's nothing better than actually going to sites and seeing the work, because it's really easy to read about it, but until you step foot in that environment, there's that vibe, and whether or not that vibe feels good or not, and you can have an opportunity to talk to the leaders of the school, the teachers of the school, about how it works and how did they get to where they are, if it's a new program or an older program. Throughout those months, they'll also, from what I understand, come back to these meetings, not all at once, but in focus groups to share with the parent-teacher organization about what they have learned and what they have seen, because it's very critical. This group is not a deciding group. It needs to go out to the greater group and so to get parent input along the way. In April, they'll begin sharing the different models, again internally, massaging them, taking that stakeholder information to determine, are we going to start narrowing our focus? Are there some that just don't fit? Based on what we've explored and learned, they really don't fit the criteria. Therefore, it's something that we as a focus or a group, a larger community group, decide we don't want to move forward with. We'll have some community meetings also in April. And then in July, I think I put that wrong. It must not be July. It
It's
must
May.
be June. It must be May or June.
I think it's
gotta
May
go
9th.
back.
It's
May. It has to be May, so we're gonna have to correct that on our slides to go public. In May, they'll do some year-end wrap-up and then determine, okay, what did we accomplish this year? And as a group, determine what do we do next year? What are our next steps? Because we know that in planning a focus area, that's not going to happen immediately. All of a sudden, you don't become a STEM school or an art school, or obviously you're a neighborhood school. The group may say, you know what, we're good where we are. We just want to enhance and enrich the programs that we already have. We don't need a set focus area. And so that really is that collaborative conversation that will happen within this community group and within the larger group. So this is the model that they discussed when they were working in their August meeting. And so what they're doing right now is they're in that design phase. So they have a design, develop, and implement. And I think Robin has talked about this at various meetings throughout this school year. And so the design is really looking at the program. What are the criteria for the program? What are the expectations? What do we believe as a community is good and right for kids, regardless of what the focus area is? And then what would that look like as we reimagine or invent or reinvent West Valley? Then as they move forward, once you start honing in on a focus, what does that look like? How do we develop it? What is that criteria? What are those expectations? And then how do we move forward and implement? And a lot of those things would take into consideration as you move forward, especially if you're going to pick a set focus. What is the professional development that is needed to be able to support the teachers as they're moving in whatever direction that is? Or neighborhood school, no focus, what are the things that we need to do as we've explored where we really need to spend more time digging deep with our teachers to enhance the programs that are already in place? So phase one, research. They're going to research. They're going to do a lot of research. They're going to visit programs. They're going to create resources. So as they are researching or as they are visiting schools, and they may come across articles, they may come across websites, they may come across books, what we're going to be asking them to do on their template that they have is start putting those items on the template so that when they are shared with the public also has an opportunity to look at some of the same resources that they looked at, and especially if there's one that really interests you, or if there's one that you really have questions about and you're not sure, this doesn't feel right to me, doesn't feel like it would fit, you'll have resources listed so you as a parent community can look at it and dig deeper. They'll present findings to the focus group. They'll share amongst themselves. They will share with the school staff. They'll share with your PTO here at various meetings, and then they're going to share with your greater community. Their goal is to get input from all of those groups along the way. Again, that one group is not going to be the deciding factor. They're going to be making recommendations based on what they learn, and then report back the final conclusions. So the criteria that they looked at, so regardless of the model, regardless of the program, these are some of the components that they want to ensure each of those models has as an integral part. One, that it builds capacity for kids to participate and to contribute. And so you'd hope that any program that you looked at, kids actually had an opportunity to participate and contribute to the work. that kids learned and understood the complex world, understood not just what's happening in West Valley or in the Cupertino Union School District or in this area, but what's happening in the world. And so when you think of these things, these are all of those 21st century learning skills. When I looked at it, I thought, well, I would hope that this is present in all of our schools, regardless of what their focus is. So as your groups are exploring schools, they'll be asking themselves questions. Where would we see evidence that these things are happening? You've got your 4 C's, your communicate, your creativity, your critical thinking, and your collaboration. And then also that students are able to stand in inquiry. They're able to ask questions and seek information. So those are some of the criteria that they will look at within focus areas. And then one of the things that they did in August that they spent quite a bit of time on, and I'm going to give you a moment to read it, I'm not going to read it to you, but as a group, they came up with desired patterns. When we look at our students, and we look at what kinds of patterns do we want to see across the West Valley group of community of learners, what do we want to see happening? So if you were to start, we want to see that in all classrooms, the students learn in environments that foster creativity, confidence, and a love of learning. So I'm going to give you a minute to read that, and then if you have any questions about the list or clarification needed, I'd be willing to answer. It's a lot of words on the page.
Where did that come from?
It came from your notes from your August meeting.
It was our last meeting.
Yes.
The end of August, we spent some time just kind of brainstorming that area. And those of you in the group, Winnie Hardy took notes of what those ideas were.
Yes.
I assume this is not the first time you're doing, or at least helping this kind of process in the school environment.
So as I shared before, one of my most recent tasks was working with Stockholmeyer.
And so what I wanted to know is, usually by the end of the process, you have some sort of a consensus, and if the parents do not agree, how do you get there? And what
Right.
happens with the parents who do not agree with the focus that was chosen?
So in the Stockholmeyer case, we actually did. We came up with 2 scenarios that, regardless of there were different priorities. One may have preferred the first over the second, or the second over the first. But 2 scenarios that everyone could live with, and that they felt that they could support and move forward. In the case of the Stockholmeyer Growth Committee, it was a presentation to the board. So we proposed 2 models that the community at large, based on the information collected, and again, it wasn't a vote, but based on all of we talked with students, we talked with parents, we had community meetings, and we had our community group. And we came up with 2 recommendations, and so we'll have to discuss the process for exactly that. It's not going to be something where this group or the community group here is going to go and say, okay, board, we've narrowed it down to 2, you decide. We'll have to figure out that process for determining the direction to go in. I think one of the things in regards to how do you get consensus, if you go back to this or this, and what may or may not happen, and again, it's sort of an organic process, you don't know. What may or may not happen as you're moving down this process is the evidence may point in a direction that one model really doesn't meet these criteria, and the group as a whole would be lovely, right, if they determined that, you know what, based on this, can we agree that this doesn't fit anymore? I know in my last process it was pretty easy to do. We very easily took models off the table because they didn't meet or fit the criteria that we listed as critical components for our program. I'm optimistic. Yeah.
The second from last, it says grit at the end. What does that mean?
Grit is just that they are able to persevere through tasks. Grit is sort of one of those new key or words. So if you go on YouTube and you
Oh, it means
grit?
grit, not some kind of
It's not an acronym.
Oh,
no,
okay.
no.
It actually means grit.
Yes.
Okay. Some kind of
good question.
Is there a precedent of what the board has actually done with these recommendations? I'm not familiar with the school district as such, I'm new here, so with the recommendations that the focus group does make to the board eventually.
Right, so, in this situation, this won't be a recommendation to the board. This is a community process to determine as a community, what do we wanna consider as we are moving forward to support our students? Do we want to consider a focus area? Do we want to be the West Valley that we are and preserve the programs that we have that are in place that I know are being maintained and just dig deeper and provide well-rounded experiences for kids? Do we want to have a focus on science and technology? Do we want to have a focus on art? And really it would be, as a group, what direction are we motivated to go in that we can wrap our arms around and then sharing with the board how that decision was arrived at.
So it is more of a resource allocation assessment from a community input perspective, so you're gonna allocate your sources based on what the community decides internally and just inform the board at that point, or I'm trying to figure out what the
Right.
end goal is here.
Do you want to?
I mean, you know, yes, resources, but we'll put resources into that, and we know that the PTO actually has some that we're asking for them to hold, because if we do select an area, it is quite expensive. And so the next question is how do you fund it? So, we will have that, but we also have to take into account too, that we may have a focus area, but then we must integrate that into what do we see in data with the needs of where the kids are at. So it has to bring those two together for that means, yeah.
So one thing that would help me is when I'm assessing options, if along with the recommendations there is the part which describes in a certain level of detail what amount of resources it's going to require, it'll help me weigh it better, because
It's a very good point.
putting it up at the end is really
Right.
not constructive.
I didn't include the template that they actually just got today. One of the things on that template, and it is a working document, but at the very bottom of it, it looks at exactly that. If you were going to wrap your arms around being a art school, a school that has a focus on the arts, what are those resources that are needed? And there's a way to list them, and it's listing of the resources and what are those resources, explaining what those resources are. So, we would need, I don't know, a new sound system to do this. We would need a drama teacher. We would need whatever. I mean, so based on the models that you start exploring, so when you're out looking at schools, and let's say you go to an art magnet school, what are the kinds of things that they have above and beyond what you have at West Valley that make that program a rich experience for kids? What are the materials? What's the curriculum? What's the personnel that staffs it? Because I would agree, that's an important factor. And that was a big factor with our growth committee. If you're gonna be a 1 school or a 2 school, what are those additional resources that you would need to be able to run both models, and how does that cost out?
I was just curious, I noticed one thing on there is students are prepared for state and federal assessments. If a school has a focus area such as a magnet school, do they still take the same state and federal assessments? So those
Yeah.
are constant no
Yeah.
matter what?
Yes.
Okay.
And
So
so what
imagine
you-
that drives a lot of curriculum no matter what. the
Correct,
focus area is.
correct. So the curriculum is an adopted core curriculum for Cupertino, right? So in regards to those materials and supplies, those would still be there because all kids across Cupertino have the right to have those same materials. But what enhancements are you going to put in, or how are you going to integrate curricular areas into possibly your focus
Yeah,
area?
because I think we need to be very clear that it's not in place of, it's how do we integrate it within, because we're gonna be solid in Common Core standards in the 4 Cs, which you see are in this criteria, but that foundation remains constant.
According to the data already displayed by the state testing last year, was there Was there like a huge need or a gap in an area that would push us towards a certain focus area so far? Because I don't know if you guys have all of your
We don't
scores
have all
yet.
this, I don't know if Robin's had a chance to look
I
at.
haven't had a chance to look at it, and I think we do also need to be careful that we don't pick a focus area based on 1 year's need, because that varies from year to year. So it's the adaptability of that focus area to be able to work within what the data is showing us too. That's some of the criteria we're looking at, as we look at it.
One more question in order to understand what focus area for a school is and what are the implications afterwards. Once a focus area is chosen for the school, does it mean that afterwards it ceases to exist as a community school and like other people can ask to be transferred over there? Can you ask to be transferred out of there? And the resources, do they come from each parent as they register for that year, or because for now it looks like they're like based on what the parents currently gave to the school? So
Right.
how
Right.
does that go?
So to answer the question about what kind of school does it become, it still is a neighborhood school. It's a neighborhood school with a focus, or a neighborhood school that's just a neighborhood school. Would not be considered an alternative school. So for families the priority would be given, like it is currently, to your neighborhood children. What ends up happening in the way we do our policy is that after our registration happens in the spring, we have an open enrollment period where families can open enroll to any school in the district. Yet they are only let in based on space. And so it's basically they can request a transfer to a school site, but that happens at any of our schools. But it is a neighborhood school. It would not be done by lottery for your neighborhood families. So that's the first question. Now I forgot the second question.
As far as resources.
Oh, and then resources. The way the resources would work, and the schools have resources that they receive anyways through their local control accountability plan. In addition to that, we have foundations that are supporting certain efforts and endeavors. My guess would be, with a focus area, just like even this year, that the district would put in resources to also support moving forward with the program. That's why the question that the man in the back asked would be important for the board to understand. So as you're moving forward with or without a focus area, what are those resources that you believe are necessary, and are there ways in which the school district can help support in the launch of that?
As part of the template, is it taken into account the school that we feed into from middle school to high school and to compare the other schools, the programs that they're using?
The template does not, but that's something to think about. Yeah. And I'm gonna take one more question because they want me off.
I know they're going to be looking at all the schools nearby, the Cupertino schools and what their focus areas were. But can we also get an understanding of what were they considering? Like Sokamai, you said they had 2 goals, right? Would we know what goals they were? And so we get a sampling of what were the kind of goals that.
Theirs was really different. Theirs wasn't looking at a specific focus area like yours. They were really looking at school models. And so what these groups will be doing is, as you look at the criteria, the things that they're looking at right now, this was their first brush at program exploration. Right now, as we think about this, there is one school that has a STEM focus in our district with project-based learning. It would be a school that you may go visit. But a lot of these schools don't currently exist in our district either. They're not even focuses of there's pieces of them in some of our alternative education programs, but they're not truly performing art schools, or science and art schools, STEM schools, or design thinking schools. So what we would be doing, or the groups would be doing, is researching where are there schools that have true rich programs, either at a beginning stage or a veteran stage, and how do we go get information about those schools, whether or not they're local or not. Okay? So these are the focus areas that they have started exploring. One of the things that has happened in those groups is each member of the group and I didn't get feedback if they liked it or not, but they were assigned to a group not by choice, because it's really important that they're pretty organic groups. And these groups allow for individuals that are exploring and learning that may initially think, ooh, I don't really buy into this. This isn't what I would choose. And so it gives different perspectives. And so I will help facilitate those groups, especially if they're struggling, as they're creating and filling out that document and share. So those are the program explorations. And then that's my presentation. One of the things I can do, I know that Wendy will be coming back next month. As the groups present, I will do my best to be here to present with them. At any time, if you have questions about that process, you're welcome to email me. I'm easy to find on the district website, and Robin can always send you the information. I didn't put that on there, but maybe when I send the corrected slide, I'll put my email on the bottom. And I think my time is up. Yes. Okay.
Thank you, Liz.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So next on the agenda is the staff report. So I believe there's no actual report today, but we do want to welcome Sarah Reiser and Kelly Sullivan. Sarah teaches fourth grade, so we have both the primary and the upper grade representative. And there are 2 PTO representatives for the year. So they'll be at all the PTO meetings, hopefully. And so thank you very much and welcome.
Thank you. We're happy to be here.
And then we're going to move on to the treasurer's report. And Jen Schaub is going to give the treasurer's
I just
report.
need to set up the Anjan Yi is my co-treasurer and she's not able to be here this evening. So I will be giving the treasurer's report. I have 20 copies of the expenses on one side and income on the other. You'll have to share. I hope we all know how to do that. I also do Project Cornerstone with Sue, so I know this is a
Do you want the labor planner?
Sure.
Okay,
Do you have the batteries?
Yeah.
Okay, well, why don't I work on that?
Which page are you going to?
Oh,
This one is
that one. I was all set to have them.
Sure.
So they're separate.
Yeah, that's fine.
Why is it not up?
Probably taking a minute to find the new laptop.
Yeah.
It just, hopefully no one has to rush out of here. We're working on it.
Do I need to? Will it automatically find the new laptop?
Yeah, no, it should be fine. It's just looking. It's searching.
Sometimes you have to say sorry.
I have,
So just pull it out and put it back in one more time.
Yeah.
And the side of the computer now, just pull it out and try one more time.
Jen, you can go ahead. You want to do it on the She doesn't.
Laser. Until you have the.
Should I turn it on later?
No,
I'll do the hard copy.
But you close.
Yeah.
She's gonna
because
do
I'm
the.
Oh.
All right, technical difficulties, but we are going to use the Elmo instead, so I'm gonna be going for my hard copy. So I'm gonna start with,
Here.
I have it.
I know, but you need to hold it, don't you?
No, I can look at it.
Okay.
All right,
Someone hit the
Oh,
lights
it's-
because it's too dark to, we need too much protection.
love it. I'm doing a great time. Oh, God. We learned in Project Cornerstone
No, that's right, we can't do partial.
that it's really hard to do this. So, that's why everyone does a hard copy.
Well, let's just move on.
How am I not getting this?
It's usually a button to
Yeah,
invert the
there.
image.
The twister thing.
That's what she did.
Yeah, are we zooming?
Alright,
And never look.
we can follow along.
Can you?
Yep.
Can't.
Ooh, that's what happens when it's oh, you know, it helps when I do this.
No, I still got it. You were right
Oh,
before.
alright, here we go. Anyway.
Jen,
right.
can you just start talking? I'm gonna try to get the computer to work again. So you just start talking.
I'm gonna take care of this. All right, the financial report for this month is pretty simple because not that much has happened, which is good. Let's see, so, first thing I wanted to talk about was income. So hopefully everyone can see that. It's the page, that looks like this. That doesn't have the, graph in it. Okay. So you'll see how we categorize our income, and just so everyone knows, the way that we are, the way that we record the income is just what comes in during that month. So all of these numbers are for the income that came in during August came in last month. Okay. So you'll see that, let's see, the operating amounts that we had for the direct donation, we had $900. We had $5,600 in corporate match, and nothing for endowment. So total was about $6,500 from direct donation. The walkathon, so far we've received $3,100 approximately in walkathon income. That's primarily sponsorships. We haven't received any corporate match or endowment funds for that. So for walkathon funds, so far we've generated $3,150. And then you'll see underneath there that there's other fundraising. So what we mean by other fundraising are things that are more passive sources of income, like if you sign up for Amazon Smile or the Target thing. We also get money from shares, which is Lucky Albertsons. We also make money from the box tops, from movie night, script, lots of other things. So,
Family.
It's on the screen.
It's
not very.
Yeah,
mirroring.
it's just.
Yeah, but I don't.
I got it.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so moving on. Let's see, so the biggest source of income for other fundraising was the yearbook. So our total income in August was about $12,000. Oh, there it is.
So this is what you want?
Nope, the other one. We're getting there. Anyway, and then you'll see at the bottom of the page, just because this is where I had space to put it, at the end of August in our operating account at Heritage Bank, we have $496,552. And our Morgan Stanley account, which is our endowment fund, we have $364,027. So that's it for income. And then for Jeff, yes, any questions about income?
I think she's almost ready.
Yeah, question, yes.
Good question I wanted to ask. The
Yes.
walkathon income, is that the money that each parent donated to the classroom, like 10?
No,
No.
no, that,
Going to
no,
that?
so this is only stuff that came in last month.
Okay.
So it's sponsorships.
Okay.
And so the funds that came in from the classrooms came in this month hasn't been counted yet.
Okay.
Any other questions about income?
And
Yes,
is it two big sums?
yes,
Like, that's what we have right now?
yes.
Like, two of them, both together?
So the distinction between the two, the operating account is what we use to pay the bills, so to speak. It's what we have access to, we can use. It's like our checking account. The endowment fund is completely separate, completely different. It has different restrictions.
What do we use that for?
Well, we are still
the way that the endowment fund was originally intended, and I wish Debbie was here to elaborate on this. Ideally with an endowment fund, you create a large enough pot of money that you can use the interest off of it, or take a certain percentage, small percentage of it to fund your operations. So that was, I believe, the intent when the fund was set up
A long time
a long time ago, I think in the nineties,
Yeah.
wasn't it? To do that though, I mean, if you look on the next page, you can see that our budget, well, budgeted, that's because we have the other information in it, but if we have, generally our budget's been about $250,000, give or take. I don't know what the lump sum would need to be in order to generate enough money for us to have that, but it's more than $364,000.27, or $364,027. So when folks donate for direct donation, they do have the choice about whether their funds are going to go into the operating account or whether it's going to go into the endowment. This year, we had $49,005 that were designated by parents to go into the endowment account.
4,900.
That's what I said.
You said 41,000.
I wish. $4,905. Thank you for correcting me.
Jan, at the last meeting, there was some discussion if there was somebody that was willing to volunteer their time from the financial planning perspective. Did we get any volunteers from that?
I have not pursued it, but last
did.
year when we
You
talked
did.
about
Yes.
it, we brought it loud.
Mr.
No.
Levy.
No,
Mr.
Mr.
Levy.
Levy. Mr. Dan Levy.
Yes, that is true. Yes, that is true. My mistake.
Yes, we
Yes, we have gotten, but certainly, we haven't made any progress towards working on that at this point, but it's on the to-do list. Yeah,
So if there's a surplus, does it automatically transfer to the endowment fund? Let's say for a year you have some extra, can you not put it in the
Well,
fund?
if you look on the next page, you'll see that we do have a certain amount that we would like to put towards the endowment. We have the $50,000 that's at the bottom of the page. It may be hard to see. Maybe I'll try this. Right down here. We don't have a policy we have not yet determined what we would do on a regular basis. So that's one of the things that we will be doing this year, is determining how often we want to be putting operational funds into the endowment, and how much it would be. And the limit of the endowment, though, is that once it goes in, we can't use it the same way that we can the operating fund. So we have to be careful with what we want to do.
And currently, we do not put money in the endowment. Surplus.
Did you ask
Actually
about the
use.
$10,000 difference? Is that what you asked
No,
about?
no, no, I was just asking whether is there a, just to build up the endowment fund, it may be a good idea if you have some extra to.
Well, and this budget was approved with that amount to plan to go in.
Yeah. Yeah,
Just so I can understand. So we have like 4,000 in the bank, and the interest we get is like $82?
No, the interest income, I'm sorry, is from the operating account. It's not from the endowment. So all of the income that you see, that interest income is from the heritage account. I will make a note of that. Sorry.
Is the interest from the Morgan Stanley reinvested?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Nothing has,
We've
we
never
don't
taken
touch the
money out.
endowment account. We haven't done anything, any interest, anything from that account is reinvested. in that
Into that account again?
Into that account again. Yes, it's a self-contained system, I guess that's how you would say it. Yeah, Sean.
Hey, what about, is the FDIC protect only up to 100,000? How does it work with this?
I have no idea.
That's a good question.
I will, I'll ask you about, I'm sorry, I will look into that.
All right.
And get an answer.
Well, Morgan Stanley would be insured.
Right.
Yeah, Morgan Stanley's not gonna do
Yeah, Morgan Stanley's a brokerage investment.
So is that different than like the regular money in your FDIC?
Yeah. I don't have the details of how the money is invested, but if folks are interested in that, I can research that for you. Yeah.
So,
I'm sorry,
No, it's fine.
maybe I don't understand the logic of it, but if I was building my will and I had to give money to my kids, I would put that amount of money in funds that would continue to regain more and more money. But we're a school, and the money we are collecting is usually supposed to come back to the kids every year. So, and that's an enormous amount of money. So,
This was set up long before any of us were here, and it was at a time where the government of California gave a lot more money to the schools. So they would do fundraisers and walkathon, and they had extra money. So they decided to set up a fund so in future generations, the hope was that there'd be enough money that people didn't have to do all the fundraising and there'd be money to sort of support the school. The problem has been as the funding has gone down, the schools have needed more and more money. So we have all started putting less and less into the endowment fund. And you're sort of getting further and further away from people who were here when it was established. We've always attempted to sort of live off what we earn. So the money that we earn in any given year, we have used for the students and decisions in that year. Now, you get excess at times because like we have set aside, as you'll see in the budget, money for 3 IAs, music for K-3, and the third IA is just being hired now. So there will be money that comes back to us at the end of the year and there's excess. And then again, and that's where you see some of this excess is that we've gotten money back from the district. And so now the decision is what do you need to do with that money? We have not been actively rolling all of that into the endowment. The intent is to be using it for the school. And the intent is also, over the past couple of years, the decisions have been what does West Valley need on the daily basis, which is sort of all the programs and the staff, and then are there bigger ticket items that will have a longer lasting effect that we can fund with some of the excess that comes back that we had sort of budgeted for the day-to-day programs. So we're not actively rolling money in, but we also have not been taking money out. And it is a very hot topic item because the people who have started and other things have very strong feelings about whether or not we, as the current parents, should be taking money out of it to fund programs that are going on in the school. So it sort of came to a head last year as we were looking at whether we should be a PTA or a PTO. Part of the problem was the PTA couldn't give us clear answers on how we could manage the endowment, because part of a PTA is you use your money in that year, and we're like, we can't just use this $364,000. It's not money we had put in, it was put up for the future, and we're supposed to be growing it over time. And community members, again, are very protective and very heated and have made it very clear that it needs to be maintained and protective. So we try and balance what is needed at the school as well as, so again, we try and raise what is needed for what we want and what parents want and what teachers want in that year, and we try and use it as much as possible towards that year so that it gets used up, so the money that, you know, we all put in, our kids will be benefiting from.
so what you're actually saying is, if I understand correctly, is that that money, although it's on the paper, we can't really use it.
The endowment?
Yeah.
Well,
It's not that you can't, we just have tried
I think we need to decide.
not to.
You have to find the appropriate use
Yeah.
for a long-term
Yeah.
benefit.
And we need to set a governing, we have to
Focus.
set a governing
Yeah.
policy for
Focus, more
how those
focus.
decisions will be made.
We're gonna be super focused.
We'll do all 5 areas.
I know.
There's another question.
I'm sorry, yes.
With an endowment, right, the idea is you're usually living off the interest.
Right.
Right.
And that principal stays there, you say about $1 million and let's say interest were 10%, but it's not anywhere near that, you get $100,000 every year
Right.
for stuff in school, that's the idea.
And you wouldn't cut into.
You would cut into the principal, just
Right. So another point though that we probably should make with all of this is that we was separate from the PTA for a long time. So PTA paid for certain things and we paid for other things. So now that we're trying to be a single organization under the PTO, the numbers, anyway, the numbers are, we have to think about the numbers in a different way. So on the second page, now that it's up here, this is our budget. A little cockeyed, the budget's always a little cockeyed. Anyway.
It's okay with
Everything is just talk to it, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
We can't read it anyway.
Oh, good, excellent.
It's too small.
I know, huh? Anyway, okay, so what's in the left-hand column over here is the budget that we approved at the last meeting. And the percentage of the total budget that broad category composes. in the next column is, how can I put it? Current month, so in August, it's what we spent. We only spent money on filing with the state for the raffle that's going to happen during the walkathon, and we paid for T-shirts for the teachers, the I Love West Valley T-shirts. Otherwise, we had no other expenses this month. Year to date, that's all we've spent money on, so these two columns match this month, and then the remaining amount in those line items for the budget is the right-hand column. Any questions? Yes, Kelly?
Shows 293 from hospitality.
Uh-huh.
But I don't.
None of us
None of us have actually submitted receipts from.
Christina submitted receipts.
It's Love West Valley.
It's Love West Valley Day.
It got put in its own category.
I'll
I didn't,
categorize
I didn't
that.
do all,
Thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't do $293. So
I'll
we're gonna need to
double-check
go
the
look
number.
at that.
I'll double check.
Thank you.
Sure.
Another real quick
Yeah.
one, under fundraisers walk, looks like the column didn't carry over to remaining budget, because it says zero, budget item zero
Yeah.
spend, so.
There's some
this-
calculation errors we need
There
to
might
fix
just
in
be
the
a few things
spreadsheet.
that
Okay.
just don't-
I can work on that.
Yep.
Any other questions? Yes.
Can you explain to us again about the art donation that you asked for $50? Is it the school donation? Is it the PTO?
Do you want to handle that, Libby?
I'm sorry.
I think Robin should answer that. It's
You
the
couldn't
art
hear
program.
it.
She's asking about the art program donation. So it's a school thing. It's not a
REEF is not
PTO.
asking for that money.
Yeah.
So the PTO is not putting
No.
into
No.
that?
No.
We
That's
are
not a
contributing.
PTO.
We are contributing. We're contributing, but it's not a PTO
Right.
sponsored
Yeah,
it's not a sponsored.
activity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does that,
And why is that?
And why, yeah, why not?
The school has always organized the art program. I don't know, I wasn't here at its inception, but I assume the parents were interested and the school responded somehow. I really don't know. I don't know why, we pay for some positions, or some supplementary staff positions. Those all go through the district. So it's possible when they're hiring the San Jose Museum of Art that they need to work directly with the school. I really don't know.
I mean, I think it's something, definitely for discussion, maybe at the end of the spring when we look for a budget for next year, to bring that back up again. I'm new to it too, so, but definitely, if we wanna look at PTO as a possible funding source for that, it's actually springtime when they do the budget to look at that. But yeah, currently now the art program is, as you know, is run through the parent donation for that.
So when we're raising money through Walkathon or the League Direct Donations, and we're told that we're donating for enrichment, what is that? What is the enrichment?
everything in the column here.
Okay, so how do we make those decisions on what is being used for what? Like, how are those decisions being made?
Well, so
Is it just based on the past and what we've always done?
yes, so,
The committee submitted.
well, so we have many different programs that we run. Ray is the VP of programs, so he is welcome to discussing current programs. If you think they're not working the way that you want them to work, we can investigate that. If you're interested in starting a new program or maybe transferring a program from the school to the PTO, he'll be
But-
happy to talk to you about that, but
But there's a process, that
No, I'm just
I know,
curious,
I'm
but
trying to
I've
explain it,
never-
so every year, the current programs put in what they request. The teachers and the principals are consulted for what kinds of programs and support that they want. And all of that is combined into a list of what all the requests are. And then it needs to be discussed and voted on to what the final budget will be, compared against the available funds. If there's sufficient funds and all of the programs are worthy, then they'll be approved. And this year we were able to set aside some money and do that. In years when it's lean and we didn't get enough money raised the previous year, then there has to be a line drawn and programs have to be non-funded. So that's how that went forward. And there wasn't a request or the idea for the art program to be funded fully from this and discussed. So it was discussed to contribute some off the top, but not the full amount. So that's how this year's budget was created. Mhm.
yeah.
Well, we have in the budget new programs for this year, 45,000, which we're like, maybe we can suggest now that the art
program can be sponsored partly by that. So, because I think the issue is, I can understand it wasn't discussed last year when the budget was formed,
Yeah.
but this is the situation. I mean, we have money in the budget, and we have a program that the school is interested in, and the two things can go together.
Okay. So there are a few things that we have to keep in mind. One is that this money that we have that has been referred to as a surplus is money that has been left over from years prior to this year. Students have been at the school, parents have been contributing this money for many years, and this money has built up over time. So these parents that are no longer at the school are gonna be paying for kids that are at the school this year to do that, right? To have this. And in addition to that, if we have money right now, so we could pay for it this year, but next year, we won't be able to pay for it again, and we're gonna be asking parents to donate in addition, and additionally, right? So I just think that we have to take everything into consideration when we're making that decision. So it's something that we can discuss, absolutely, but I'm not sure that we can offset the entire cost for those reasons.
And some of it is something that can be discussed, but it's approximately how much for every child is about $40,000, Robin? Or?
We were saying, I think about the total art program was about 27,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it can be discussed, but that money was set aside because we have new teachers, new staff, and we didn't get their input when the budget was set. And so the idea is to give them time to settle in, to identify what needs to be, and the art program is one of those programs. But there could be some other things that come up, and if we spend all of that money in the first month, and it's not all of it if it's 27,000, but then we don't have that opportunity to look at what other things we need for curriculum and for programs for this year. So
I understand what you're saying, but it seems to me like, we have an extra in the budget of 145,000 for the focus project, which we're not even sure that's gonna happen
That's not
in
the-
2 years.
well, that's not.
I'm just saying. And
Okay.
the money that was raised last year was not supposed to be for focus. I mean, I donated money, other parents donated money. They didn't know it was supposed to be for the focus project. They donated money in order for the kids to enjoy enrichment activity this year, not something else. So for me, it doesn't, if we donate money in order to do enrichment, and then suddenly the mass of it is being turned into a focus, that could happen, not happen in 2 years, 3 years, nobody knows. I don't understand the process in that, I'm sorry.
And so I think the only thing I can suggest is that we take an action that by the next meeting, we consult with the principals and the teachers, and they have a chance to look at maybe some other things, and then we can discuss that request. I don't think it's wise to try and answer it tonight without some more discussion. So my recommendation is that we look at the request, talk to our experts, and figure out what the best near-term plan is.
So unfortunately, the money needs to be collected by October 2nd, I believe. So I was gonna say we could add it as an agenda item for the next meeting, but I don't think, there's no decision that we can make right now without getting all that additional information. So it'll be after the fact of when we're collecting the money for the art program. So I realize it's not gonna answer the question that you want soon enough, but I think that's where we're gonna have to leave it for now. Yes?
I have a question. How is, maybe Robin can answer that, how is art different than music and PE? Like the district is, how does it work? I'm just curious, how does it work?
The support that the district gives is actually through Sept, which is the foundation, the district foundation. And through their fundraising, they end up contributing, roughly between $4,000 and $5,000 a year to help offset a music program. So that is what we get in support outside of parent organizations or parents paying like you're doing for art to provide these type of programs. So you will see them vary from site to site of what they are. depending on how much money can be raised. So it just varies from site to site, but when you're looking at, the district pays for 4th and 5th grade physical education, and music. So anything outside of that in these areas needs to be site funded. And that varies from site to site, what programs and how they're funded, yeah.
So the fund that the PTO is adding is for the younger children, not for the
Quite a bit of it, yes, quite a bit of it, yes.
Yes.
Mhm. The art, there is no art provided by the district, so that's a K-5 program. The music and the PE is definitely primary.
It's because they don't think art is important, or?
It's all about money.
Priority.
It's all about money.
All right, do you have a question?
Yeah, I was thinking, just looking at like the budget and the support plan or the support staff and just thinking if, just along those lines of what the other parent was saying, like if the funds are there, and not saying we should spend everything we have, of course that's not wise, but where, you know, ample opportunities for our kids this year, if there is that money there that could support our students, because this new test is very difficult, and what can we start from kindergarten up to really support our students, to have that head start, to have that critical thinking, to do those things that will push our kids to the level that we really want them to be at. And sometimes the curriculum has some hit and misses. And then also, I'm a new parent here, but from my understanding is that most of the families here are the same, but the staff is different. So if the families here or the kids that go here have, you know, Suffolk kindergarten, right, they've still been the same families, right, then to me they would have a lot to say now versus waiting because they've been here for years, right?
Mhm.
So I think it would only be beneficial for us to wait for the staff and what they need, but the families that have been here are consistent. So I think if they already have like some things that will really foster kids in the new Common Core, or have them do push them more in those areas, then, you know, I think that's something that to look at as soon as we can.
So you're saying that rather than just waiting to hear what the staff would like to have contributed, you want us to listen to the families?
Yeah, because they're pretty consistent, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, because I mean, this is still a community school, neighborhood school.
Right.
The families are the same.
Right.
The staff is different, but
Right.
and so I think it's really important to look at both, because what a parent needs for their kid is, it may align and it may be a little bit different from the educator's standpoint.
Mhm.
You know, so just looking at both sides, I think is a really good thing to do.
I think that's a really valid point, yeah. Thank you. I think we should take that into consideration.
The last
Yeah.
question is about the $10 that you asked for a donation for
Yes.
the walkathon.
Yes.
Can you explain it more about what is it about?
So it's split into two $5 donations. So $5 are used to buy the beverages that we then sell at the walkathon, or we give away. The students, if they walk a certain number of laps, they will earn a drink ticket, and they can go and get a Gatorade or a soda or whatever they choose. And then the other $5 is to buy things for the raffle. So in the past, parents were asked to bring in soda or whatever, a drink to provide, and they were asked to bring in gift items for the raffle basket. So this way, instead of doing that, we're just saying, can you please give this amount of money, and then we'll take care of having all of that organized. So we thought it was easier on parents to do it that way. Are there any other questions?
What was the other 5?
The beverages and the raffle?
Oh.
Okay. All right, I think we're gonna move on to to Ray, the VP of Programs report. Do you wanna just talk? Do you want to slide?
I do have hard copies.
I have.
Doesn't work?
You know what, I lied. Why don't you start with the books? You want to say something about the book fair?
Okay, as Libby, as Libby's work on this, I can update some good news. We got $1,900 worth of credit from last year's book fair, and as Robin suggested, we bought some stuff, books for 5-hour teachers, and we still have maybe $20 left. And I'm gonna buy some book for Project Cornerstone. Maybe I can talk to. No? Okay. Yeah, we'll talk about it.
I know what books I need, I just have to get the.
Okay, just give the list to me. Then okay. Then we will have some. If plan to have something, I would say buy a raffle basket for walkathon, silent auction. So hopefully, those money will be good use. Okay, so program updates. I think last time we introduced about 40 programs to our parent community, and I'm very happy to say that because of everyone's effort, most of the programs are in very good shape. They're either up and running or in discussion or preparation to start. So I'm going to give you an overview of what's going on there. How do we go to next?
Just click
The arrows.
Click the
Arrow?
arrow to the
Down
right.
arrow. The arrow keys?
Arrow? Where is the arrow?
Just push it.
Oh. Okay, we got some programs that are already running in very good shape. I think everybody noticed Valet is running very smoothly every morning. And Louisa and her team are working, the hospitality team is doing a very good job. Room parents, they are working every day. Art program, art display, box top, directory, they're all, in good shape. And okay, paper scripts. I got my card this morning, so I guess so that's in good shape. I remember this is only the first campaign, so we're gonna receive more. Yearbook. I remember receiving the first email saying that asking parents to take the pictures of first day of school, and they're gonna send the link to upload all the photos to make the yearbook. So this one is running great. Spiritware. I think it ended last Friday. We're not taking order anymore, but we're processing it, and Cindy is gonna give some update in our later report. So, some highlights for September. Project Cornerstone had their first meeting in 8th of September, and the good news is that because Sue and Jen's great effort, we have at least one reader for every classroom. But we do have classrooms that only have one reader. So if we can get more helpers, that'll be great. Game night scheduled for 25th, a week from the coming Friday. So hopefully, got a lot of families there. I think this year we changed it a little. So we won't bring out, outside vendors. We're gonna ask parents to bring kids to bring their own games to play. It's gonna be a community building event. So we're gonna have maybe some snacks, drinks to share with everyone. So we're gonna have some fun. 25th of September.
And that's from 7 to 9.
7 to 9. Yeah.
And that's here in the GLC.
October. So the biggest event in October is going to be walkathon. I think our chair are working on that, and we have a lot of parents already signed up for each committee. So it's going to be October 10th. So that's going to be a huge event. We found our music program coordinator. I think Libby is working with Robin to find the teacher first, I guess.
Great.
Okay. So so that's fine. This one we do need some help. Our safe route to school. The International Walk to School Day is coming up on October 7th, and we also I remember got some posts on Nextdoor complaining about all this very dangerous biking behavior from Cupertino Middle School students. So we really want to focus not only encourage kids to bike or walk to school, but also learn how to do that safely. So, yes.
One thing is, Eric and I have been talking about this, there's no crosswalk guard on the Dalles and Bellevue anymore, and it's really dangerous. Because it's an awkward place because it's not in front of the school, so there's no school, but Cupertino Middle is going this way, and West Valley is going this way, and a lot of the middle school kids are riding their bikes, aren't paying attention. It's just, and last year, a bunch of parents went rogue and volunteered, but we weren't allowed, Mark and another lady and myself who moved, but we weren't allowed to do it because you weren't sanctioned by the school, because it wasn't and they keep on hiring a person, but I don't know, they can't retain them for some reason on that corner. So we don't have any more crossing guards. So I know it's a city problem, it's not a West Valley issue, but it's just a really concerning spot, as any of you drive down there or walk that way with your children or have middle schoolers that go that way.
Yeah. I know Eric worked on that last year very hard. So
Yeah,
we're
he did a
looking
great
to
job.
that. What I noticed was that the lady working our cross, I think she alternated maybe because
She does
one
that.
week
Yeah,
she was
she's
on
there
there.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very
So
important.
yeah, maybe I think we'll work with city on this. Eric, do you have any
I
updates?
can reach out, yeah, because last time I talked to the city was about 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and the city said they already hired somebody at that intersection. And
then we saw
that
her
person,
again.
yeah, worked for like a week, then disappeared.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll reach out.
Any of us could get hired by the city, right? Any of us could apply for that job. Jen, I think you just. I do yard duty already.
Can volunteer lead this
No, come on.
I know there are some events that you need to organize, to invite what's that, San Jose, some organization to teach kids how to ride a bike, bike rodeo or
Bike
something.
rodeo.
So we're looking for helpers here. So I probably will send another post on Constella asking for volunteers. Okay. So other programs in need of helpers, we have a craft fair, and exploration day, 2 huge events. We do have leaders, but we need more helpers. So if you are interested, go to Constella to sign up and to understand the programs better.
Who's running the craft fair?
I think Kelly.
No.
Let me check. Lena volunteer.
Lena can.
Lena and Zoe?
Yes.
I've been talking. And I.
She wants to do lots of things. Now Lena volunteer for a craft fair. What else?
She's doing exploration.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Exploring. Oh, sure. She's dealing with both. So I guess.
Lena?
Yes.
Okay.
She.
Okay.
Yeah, she definitely needs a lot of helpers. So we encourage everyone. So we'll probably will send another post on Constella, asking for my helpers. I think what else? That's it? Oh, yeah, just if you still don't know yet, go to Constella committee, then you can see all the programs. You can, understand the details and sign up if you want. Okay. Any questions? Yes?
Can science fair also be something that the PTO can try to promote? Because I think the quality of science fair has been dwindling, I thought, over the years. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, so I agree.
I didn't follow.
We haven't actually talked about it, whether or not there's gonna be a science fair at the school this year, so that.
If it is, it will be, PTO sponsored and run. I know their teachers aren't interested in taking that on to coordinate that.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, are you gonna volunteer?
Science fair or family science night?
Family science
No,
night.
not
Oh.
science fair.
We're talking about
the
fair.
students.
Oh, I don't know the
Science
difference.
fair.
Yeah.
So there's the science fair where they do the posters and they do their own research,
Yeah.
and then family science night is a bunch of different experiments and the hands-on interactive stuff. So family science night is fit well within PTO, but I think the question is the 5th grade because the 5th grade has typically required their students to do an experiment and do a poster, and then other grades were welcome to do it.
Oh, yeah, I need someone to touch base with me on that so we can reach out to 5th grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then on the open house night is when
Yeah.
they've had it in the past, so
Oh, I
families
see.
are coming anyway, so they have that science fair and the GLC prior to the.
Yeah, somebody can just touch base with me, I'll reach out to fifth grade. See if they can do-
And based on my understanding, it's not all the Cupertino schools, elementary schools have a pretty good science fair. That's
Well,
my
we have
understanding.
teachers with experience from all different schools, so it'd be a great resource to ask them what they think would be fun, so. Yep.
Something I wanted to mention, I had a girl that finished 5th grade last year, and I think something that was missing was some sort of closure, like they didn't have any kind of, ceremony or anything like that to like symbolize the end of the year for them and the end of elementary school and like finishing that space. And I think for people who have like a 5th grader this year, I think it's something that's important to take into account and create that something special for them.
CUSD policy is that we do not, hold those type of events.
Really?
Why is that?
How come?
Well, we could spend all night talking about it, I've been on the side, I've been on I don't know how many, what we call promotions that turn into be more like graduations. But that doesn't mean that we can't look at something for the 5th graders at the end of the year, but as far as it looking like a ceremony, we need to look at a different alternative than that.
Yeah, I understand. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that there wasn't anything for them that it was like, a day at the parks, but it wasn't something symbolizing, I don't know, if even something very small, that the end of elementary school, something like that.
Yeah.
Would it be possible for the PTO to sponsor something like that? No?
Can we even have a like performance just for 5th grader in GLC? Just feel like it's some kind of culture.
I mean, definitely if it's some sort of performance where they're performing, but
Uh-huh.
anything where we're, giving them a certificate, acknowledging them.
No, just get together to celebrate it. That's
Yeah,
what.
so that would be something also to bring, to the 5th grade team too, with any ideas you may have.
All we did at Nimitz to do that for the 5th graders is after we had our end of the year slideshow, the whole school lined up on both sides down our hallway and we just high-fived them and wished them well in middle school, and it was just something really quick
And that
just
would
to
be
say
nice.
goodbye.
Yeah, that would be great. I love
Do
that.
they run through like football?
They
players?
did get to run through. They did.
We don't want to put the paper up like football, but
No,
then
we
we
didn't.
all
No.
see what's on that
Wow.
one. It could be a YouTube video. But I love that idea.
It's very simple.
Very
easy,
simple,
and
very nice.
They got their farewell, we all get to say
Alright, sounds good.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay.
Any more? Yeah, I'm done.
All right.
Any question? If not, maybe next. Okay.
No, I'm done.
We're gonna move on to the VPs of fundraising, Sandy and Rashmi. Is that right? It's not even on there. Is that good enough? Yeah, it's good enough. Go ahead, get started.
Okay, I'm Rashmi Sraf. I am the VP for fundraising. So these are the programs which are how fundraising programs offered. So we had the Spirit Wear in August, September, and yeah. So yeah, we had Spirit Wear in which we raised about 2,600. Yeah, let me pull that up, just a moment. Yeah. So yeah, we raised about 2,600. So that will be distributed in late October and November. Paper script, we just purchase gift cards at face value and best value receipts 1% to 3%. And walkathon, it's going to be a different thing. Book fair, it's held twice a year. direct donation, you all know what it is. And this year we are introducing dinner nights at restaurants. So kind of we are thinking in mid of October or late October, having first family dinner night out. And what else? There's a program running called Box Stop Campaign. It's going on, so you can cut your box tops and turn it in. And we have this upcoming Zenato Shopping Day, which is on September 23rd. Timing would be 5 to 7 p.m. So you can just check out, and 10% of your sales will be given to West Valley. So that will be posted on Constella.
And we're planning to use those funds towards the art program.
Oh yeah, that's a big point, I forgot. Okay, and these are the other small programs that's been running throughout the year. Amazon Smile, eScript, UPC, sports basement where you can shop and 10% of the sales goes to West Valley. Take Care of Education, Target, Red Card where you can sign up your card and get, 1% goes to West Valley.
If I can add, sports basement, it's not just 10% that comes here, I think it's actually 15%.
Is it?
You get 10% off. So they give you 10% off at the cash register, and then they put another 15% of the sale into an account for us. So you get to save some money as well if you need sporting equipment. So it's really, I go there all the time now because it's a local business, and they support the local schools. You don't have to show anything. You say, I'm from West Valley Elementary School, and they give you the discount. There's nothing you have to do
Tell your
other than.
family, tell your family.
Yeah. And don't let them sign their schools out. But they can actually, just ask the cash registers how they get their school set up.
And that's it, I guess, and maybe I can turn it to walkathon chair. If you have any questions.
Okay, so, I looked yesterday and it said 24 days to walkathon. So, caused a little bit of panic. But, we're actually it's all coming along really well. So a couple things for everybody to note, and I talked a little bit about some of these last month, but volunteer signups we didn't talk about. I have the forms ready to go. The teachers get first dibs, and they are doing that right now if they choose to volunteer. This weekend we'll be posting the volunteer signups for both parents, and there's a separate sign-up sheet for teens. And so there will be access to Constella without being registered users of Constella. So they'll be able to enter their name and email address. It can be the parent or the child's if they're a teen, if they have their own email address, and I think a phone number. So they'll be able to get emails and postings for information from the committee leads. So it's all in one place this year, which is really useful. You just have to remember there are two different lists, and we really want to keep the adult positions for adults and the teen positions for teens. So if you can help with anybody who's asking. And I'll try and make that really clear. I'll be sending an email out this weekend with links so that you can get to them. So that's coming up. The PEP assembly is next week, so the students on Thursday, Thursday the 24th, whatever day that is. Kinder will be by themselves. 1st through 5th will be together. We'll have an exciting thing where we kind of talk to them, remind the kids that have been here and done it, inform the kids that are new, kind of what to expect. They'll be shown this, Wiley will be here. He'll make a guest appearance. And they'll be shown their sponsor card, and they'll be shown the different things that kind of go along with it. And then, if all goes well in their Thursday folders, their sponsor envelope will go home. We have changed it from a card to an envelope. And the reason is the card does not have to come to the walkathon. Spread the word. Do not bring the cards to the walkathon. This is going to be a big thing to change. It's a good thing. We don't have to remember them. But what you're going to have to do is click a few buttons. You are going to get an email from a system called chalk.com or Chalk Schools. And it's going to be pushed out by the district and the school, not by the parents, so we're not getting everybody's personal information. But it's an online permission slip. So it's a couple clicks. You click and sign electronically. The child clicks that they understand the rules, and then you're done. You show up, you say your name and for your kids, and you get your lap cards. So, and if somebody doesn't have the capability of doing it electronically or doesn't want to, there will be paper forms. But we're gonna cut back on a lot of paper by doing this and not having for people to have to remember their sponsor cards or lose them. So we're really excited about this, and Montclair did it last year, and they had like 95, 96% participation in the permission slips. So that's coming along.
Question, I just have a comment from back past experience. If we can put out a reminder on Constella that it is not a drop-off event.
Yes. I understand why you're saying that, and thank you, we can do that. It is a very good lesson learned.
It's on the waiver and it's on there.
It's on the rules on the back.
An understanding of that and obviously history of issues.
Yes, there were some challenges a couple of years ago. It is, so on the front of the sponsor envelope is the sponsor card. On the back is the rules, and that is one of the rules. There needs to be adults here for every child. But we can, there's some newsletters going out, and that's actually a good thing. Can you make a note of that, not since I'm up here? That we'll add it up. And the other thing I want to announce that is exciting is we're using a system called Raisathon. And Raisathon is an online donation system. So if a student gets donations on the card or walks around to neighbors or somebody gives them a cash or check, that's great. It will be added to a Raisathon online account. So a posting will come out about that as well. Around the 24th is when we're hoping to open it. So hopefully the day you get the sponsor cards will also be the day that Raisathon opens. You have to register your child so that they have a specific bucket. Once you register that, and a specific link will be made for each child. So I have 2 boys, I will register both of them. They'll each have an account, and as you mail it out, as you share that with family and friends far away, near, and money's donated, they'll have kind of a cash and check column, and they'll have an online donation, and that will be added together for their total donations collected towards the awards. Does that make sense? So, people from far and near, and Australia and China, and all of our other ancestors and such. So, those are the biggies that are coming out, but you're going to start seeing a lot more from Walkathon now that we're 3 weeks out, and we're going to start doing a lot that we're going to be collecting. Well, we're collecting the $10, and the committees are meeting, the leads are meeting Monday night, and we'll be looking for a lot of volunteers. I think there's like 340 positions between the Friday and the Saturday that we need to fill.
When is the room parent donation, like that we've collected, when is that due? I know we're supposed to write the checks, but when's it due?
There's never a hard and fast due date. Sooner's better. Some classes got kind of going a little sooner with letters. One of my classes, we've only probably got half the parents, so I was giving it a little more time to see. I put a reminder out. But I'm getting ready to write my checks, and they should just go to WEEF and which room it is so we can take an inventory of that.
You can put them in the box in the office.
And if you write it and you get 2 or 3 more checks in, then you can just pass it on additional money. But we should do that soon because Raffle's going to need to start buying, and they're going to need to know what their budget is. The drinks we can buy, and I think we had them delivered. That was the reason we went for this. Instead of every family having to bring a 12-pack, we just had Safeway or Google or anybody, Costco deliver one big shipment of everything that we needed, and it really saved a lot of volunteer time and parent dealing with one more thing. Any other questions about Walkathon?
Okay, so that pretty much wraps it up. I did want to say one more thing. I wanted to bring back up what the parent that had to leave mentioned, was that parents truly are one of our biggest resources, and we really do want to hear from you. So if you have comments or suggestions and you would like to have us investigate it, or if you want to help us investigate it, please bring them to us. Talk to us, email us. You can contact us via Constella or however you want. A lot of us are on campus, some of us are not because they work full time, so they're not around as much, but we do want to hear from you, so please talk to us. That's it. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Got this time, will be.